What's up everyone, it's Shay and I have a new video for you guys, and in this video I'm going to be talking about a whole nother fandom, and that fandom is going to be Harry Potter. That's right, Harry Potter. Now, as many of you guys know, on Monday, this video will be out on Wednesday, so on Monday it was the 20th anniversary since the first Harry Potter book was released. That's right, June 26th 1997 was when Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, depending on where you are when you got the book, was released. And since I, like many other people, are such a huge fan of the Harry Potter fandom, I decided to talk about my favorite theories, or like what ifs in the series that I love, that I've heard about, and also to talk about a scene that's not in the movie, but it's in the books that I really wish they would have kept in. So let's get started. So one of the theories that I've heard of is what life would have been like if Harry had have been put in Slytherin instead of in Gryffindor. Now, as many of you guys know, in the very first book, when he was on this getting sorted into one of the houses, him and the Sorting Hat had a huge conversation about whether to put him in Slytherin or whether to put him in Gryffindor. Ultimately, of course, he was put in Gryffindor, but I've always wondered, or as far as many other people have, is what would have happened if Harry had been put into Slytherin. So a couple of different YouTube channels I've gone to have questioned this, and one of the theories is that things would have probably been very different. For example, we probably wouldn't have had the trio of Harry, Hermione, and Ron, since of course Hermione and Ron were in Gryffindor. I think they would have been friends, but probably not as close as they would have been if Harry had been put into Gryffindor. I also still don't think that Harry and Draco Malfoy would have become friends. I think they might have been acquaintances, but I also don't think that Harry would have been very much liked in Slytherin if he would have been sorted into there. While they probably would have been happy that he was sorted there, but because of Harry's ideals and what Harry truly believes as far as when it comes to like dark magic and muggles, he probably wouldn't have been very well liked, or maybe it would have been the opposite. Maybe he would have turned a lot of people who were in Slytherin around, and noticing that their way of thinking, while it's not, I wouldn't say wrong, it's an old way of thinking, and he probably would have helped them to see the error of those ways. Another theory, or another what if kind of, that I would have thought about, that I've heard or read about, was what would have happened if Sirius Black had have lived. As we all know, Sirius Black died in the 5th book, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. He died in that book. But he did want Harry at some point to live with him. He was Harry's godfather, but ultimately, of course, Harry stayed with the Dursleys. But what would have happened if he had have lived with Sirius Black? And to be honest, I still don't think that Dumbledore would have allowed it, just because of the fact that Dumbledore, at the beginning with the very first book, he wanted Harry to grow up away from the wizarding world, especially after everything that had happened between him and the Dark Lord. But I think if Sirius Black had been around, I think, like I said, he would have stayed with the Dursleys. But mostly because, not only to grow up away from the wizarding world, but also because I believe there was some sort of protection on him staying with his family, or with his muggle family, his aunt and uncle and his cousin. Mostly because, as many of you guys know, in the very first book, it was basically confirmed or seen that Harry had a very, very old magic attached to him, which was the magic of love. His mother, Lily Potter, sacrificed herself to basically, so that Harry would not die, and it ultimately gave Harry, the power of love, which is what he ultimately, in the first book, is how he defeated Voldemort. Now, I feel like, from what I've read, it's believed that the maternal magic from Lily got transferred over to her sister, which was why, with him staying at the Dursleys, he could not be touched by Voldemort or by anything else. And I believe that, and I think the reason why I believe that is because if Voldemort knew, or many people knew, that Harry stayed with a Muggle family, why didn't they attack them when Harry was away at school, or even while Harry was even there for the summer, just because he's not under the protection of Dumbledore. But I believe with him staying with the Dursleys, there was some sort of unknown magic that was put on that house, so that anyone who had ill intentions towards Harry or towards his family could not find that house or could not touch anyone that lived or resided there. That's what I think. I don't know what you guys think about that, but let me know. And the other last theory is one concerning Neville Longbottom, which was also a friend of Harry, Ron, and Hermione's, and was also a fellow Gryffindor. Now, throughout the books, Neville was kind of like, he wasn't very good at magic. He was kind of a klutz, always hurting himself. But it was then came out in the 5th book that during the prophecy about the child that was the chosen one, there were 2 babies born on July 31st. And it was Harry and it was also Neville. So either one of them could have been the chosen one. And Harry's always wondered, why did they choose me and why did they not choose Neville? Now, I wonder what would have happened if Neville had been chosen as the chosen one instead of Harry. And I think things would have been very, very different. Of course, Harry still would have went to Hogwarts. Of course, I believe he still probably would have been friends with Ron and Hermione. But I think Neville is the one that would have changed. Just because of the fact that Neville he grew up with his grandmother. And I feel like with Harry growing up with Muggles, he was humbled a little bit because he wasn't always around magic. But I feel like Neville wouldn't have had that same humbling experience, and I think his personality would have changed. I don't think he would have been mean, but I think he probably would have had a lot more confidence being at Hogwarts than he does currently, or that he did have. So I think that's one of the main things that I think would have definitely changed about Neville. I think he probably still would have been friends with Harry, but I don't think he would have had the personality that he had before, just because he would have grown up around the magical world. He would have known the story about what happened when he was 1, and he would have still had that kind of that family mentality because he would have grown up with his grandmother. And I feel like his grandmother and his family would have been so much more proud of him. Not saying that they weren't before, but they were. Even in the 1st book, he says that his grandmother and his uncles and his family thought that he was a squib, which is someone who's born of magical parents but has no magic. And they believed that he was that. But he wasn't, obviously. But that's what they believed. Now, a scene that I wish was in the Harry Potter movies, that's only in the books, is concerning Neville, and it's about Neville's parents. So Neville's parents are not discussed throughout most of the book until you get to the 5th book, and then they are discussed. And what ends up happening to Neville's parents was that they were a part of the Order of the Phoenix, and they were very, very talented Aurors. And basically what happened was they were tortured with the Criticus Curse to the point where they basically are insane. They are not in their right minds. And that was kind of explained in the movies, but there's a scene in the books where Ron Weasley's dad, Mr. Weasley, Arthur Weasley, is put in the hospital due to a snake bite, and they go to visit him in the hospital. And in the hospital is where they see Neville visiting his dad, his mom and his dad with his grandmother in the hospital. And that is when they learn the story kind of around what's going on. Although Harry learns it more from, I believe he learns it more from Dumbledore, but reading that scene in the book and learning about what happened later on is, to me, one thing that made me like Neville more as a character, because beginning of the books and in the movies, he was a character that, at least for me in the books, he was someone that was kind of like dismissed, and I kind of found him more as an annoyance a little bit more than anything. But of course, towards the end of the books was when he got more courage. So I feel like with me seeing that scene of him there is what learning so much more about his parents is what really made me like him more as a character in the books, and also made me feel for him. I mean, imagine the fact of like your parents, it's kind of like if your parents have Alzheimer's. I'm not saying it's kind of the same thing. Your parents have Alzheimer's and they no longer know who you are, and then it's that thing, that kind of an experience. But the fact of the matter is that he never really grew up with his parents really knowing who he was, because he was such a young age when that happened. He was around 1 year old, just like Harry was when all this was going on with his parents, or even younger. So, you know, he's always grown up with his grandmother. But yeah, overall though, regardless of all these theories and regardless of all these scenes that I wish for in the movies that are not, I loved the Harry Potter series. It was one of my favorite books. I started reading it actually from the 3rd one because I got it as a gift. I got it as a present from my godmother, and then I read the rest of them. So I've loved this series. I love J.K. Rowling's story overall because she's literally a rags to riches story, like the epitome of it, because she started out, she was on welfare, divorced, and all the above, and then she ended up doing what she wanted to do, striving for her dream, which was creating children's books, which she did, and then they literally captivated the whole world. So yeah. So I know there's a couple people that have not seen the Harry Potter series or read the books. I definitely suggest reading the books and watching the movies just because they are both kind of different. So definitely read both. Read the books and watch the movies. And yeah, so that is my video for today. I want to talk about Harry Potter and my experience with it and my favorite theories and my scene that I wish was there. So yeah, let me know, comment down below, is there any theories that you've heard or read about Harry Potter that you want to discuss or that you've heard about? And also I'll also leave a link down below, actually a YouTube channel that I've watched a lot, and it's Harry Potter Folklore. I'll link it down below. This guy is amazing and he has a whole bunch of Harry Potter theories and like fun facts about different characters, so check out his channel down below. I'm gonna link it, and that's where you can get a lot of your like theories and stuff out the way. So yeah, so if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll have a new video out on Saturday, and so look out for that soon. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna leave link down below, also the link to my last video as well, and I'll also all my social media accounts, so follow me on there. So I'll see you guys soon, and bye.